Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope you are. No, I know that you are doing super fantastic, and I am doing pretty well, surviving the big snowstorms. Yeah, it's kind of been a big dud, but yeah, it's okay. It's just been bone chilling cold. And if it's gonna be cold, I'd kind of like to have some snow just because it's pretty to look at. But whatever, it's fine. Hey, before I forget, please, if you would, if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. I would greatly appreciate that. And I know that on here and previously on the audio podcast, if you ever listen to some of my not older episodes, but whatever, I often refer to the brain as a filter, right? And it's like most people understand what I mean by that, right? But our higher self is outside of this, and then we are, as I say, jacked into this body, this avatar, whatever you want to call it, into this realm and this reality for the purpose of having an experience, for the purpose of gaining insight, for the purpose of lots of reasons. And but we cannot come into this knowing all that we know, knowing that we are, you know, divine sparks of the true creator, which makes us creators as well. Because if we knew that coming in, well, then, like I've said, there would be no challenge here. It would just be we would come in and we would just dominate and manifest amazing lives, and it would be, well, why would we do it? But we do come into here and learn that, though. We do come into here and maybe through a series of incarnations, lifetimes, whatever you want to say, we eventually come to figure it out in this realm. But when I say the brain is a filter, it kind of filters out what we don't know. I mean, it filters a lot of things. But one of the things I always kind of, when I say that, I'm always afraid that I'm going to come off as saying that the brain is pretty helpless without the higher self guiding it. And that's not true. The brain is an amazing thing. But that is more like the computer processor of a system. That's still not you. It's just kind of your go between you and whatever it is that you are have set out to accomplish. So, but for example, I have my notes. The brain is more like a tool. I mean, it is a very effective tool. Yes, it can function all on its own. But what I mean by when I say it can function all on its own, it performs functions such as your breathing and all of your bodily functions. It causes all that to happen without you having to be conscious of any of that. And also any kind of learned behaviors, right? So like we hear muscle memory, or like when you are driving to work every day. In a lot of cases, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think, oh, I've got a right turn coming up or whatever. You just do it on autopilot for the most part. And I know I poo-poo autopilot a lot, and as well we should. But all of those things the brain is able to do. But it's all either automatic functions or things that are learned behaviors or learned perceptions. And that is kind of where we get into the programming of the brain and how the controllers of this realm would benefit from you being programmed, your brain into being programmed into believing that this is all there is. Because as I've said before, studies have shown that we can only really process consciously 40 to 50 bits of information per second. All right. Then it's also been speculated that we can have anywhere from 6 to 8 million, and have even seen estimates of up to 11 million bits of information coming at you at all times. And it may just be for me hold the feeling of this pen, right? Maybe the feeling of the air on my blowing against my skin, or maybe just anything like that. Those are all little bits of information, and I can really only process 40 to 50 at a time. So anybody who wants to keep you from understanding that I can connect to my higher self for guidance. I can connect to my higher self to learn my true nature, to learn that who I really am. I can connect to my higher self to download information from the cosmos or whatever. I can do all those things. Anybody who would want to keep you down, so you just, we just need you to stay a good worker bee, right? And produce, consume, and obey, as I've said so many times. It would be in their best interest to bombard you with more and more and more bits of information, so that way you don't have time to really process the bits that are going to advance your cause and to bring you more insight or bring you into more understanding of who you truly are. But once we become aware of all of this, see, that's where it gets really good. Because once we become aware of this, we're like, okay, I understand that I am connected to my higher self, my true self. And I can strengthen that connection. And then I can have information downloaded to me through, be it like in the form of a download of information, or maybe it's intuition, just any of that. But most people they do have time to, but they're so bombarded with so much, and they're completely unaware because their brains have been conditioned to just focus on this. But as I said, the good news is we are now aware of that. And that doesn't mean that it gets easy, but it does mean that we now know what we're up against and how to defeat it. We need to focus our thoughts and center our awareness, turn off the news, things like that. All of those things like that we have become aware of. So, anyway, but your brain does connect to your higher self, and most people say through your pineal gland, which is also your third eye or your antenna, that kind of thing. But it is not the source of consciousness, because, and I'm not going to get into NPCs too much, non-player characters, but would be people without a soul pretty much. But I got to believe that they are out there. And they pretty much just run on autopilot. It's only learned outside of the functions of the body. The only thing they really do are learned behaviors. They really don't connect to their higher self and tune into their intuition and things like that. It's amazing once you start really realizing, wow, that was an intuitive thought. That was something that came to me from my real higher self. When you have those moments, when that actually hits you and you realize, shit, that was my higher self. There's no other way that bit of intuitive knowledge could have come to me. I mean, I guess you could say it was a lucky guess, but no. We know the difference. We know when it's really real. And when it's just a lucky guess, that's all. So when I refer to the brain as just a filter, please understand, I don't mean that it's pretty much just that it doesn't do much. It is an amazing thing. It really is. But we are better than that, and we understand, and I'm not trying to act like we're high and mighty or better than somebody else, but those of us who have become aware of this, we can use that awareness to get better. And then we can use our condition or our state, once we get to that point, to then be examples to other people. Because we all want to go wake up other people, and no, that's not our job. We're not here for that. Everybody's on their own journey. However, as a bonus, if we can wake other people up, then yeah, that would be not cool if you didn't. But getting back to the filter of the brain, it's kind of like, and there's lots of ways. There's the radio tuner analogy. And then there's also, I've even heard a water filter analogy where your higher self is just this unlimited flow of water, and the brain filters out the things that it cannot use, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really like that analogy. I mean, I get it, okay, but that one, I mean, hey, it might work for you. That's fine. The better one for me is that works for me more is the radio analogy, in that we do have right now thousands of radio waves all around me, from radio stations, from Wi-Fi networks to two-way radio communication, all of these things. But whatever I'm tuned into is what I am able to perceive, right? Most people aren't aware of the fact that they can change their perception. Most people aren't aware of the fact that they can tune things out. So it's no wonder that when they're bombarded with that anywhere from 6 to 11 million bits of information per minute or second, that when they're bombarded with all that, they're just stuck in a state of fear and worry and doubt and all of those negative things. And they never really have a chance, because is a deck stacked against humanity? I don't think it was meant to be that way. However, I think that it has kind of become that way for the collective. Good news is, once you become aware of that as an individual, you don't have to go that way anymore. That's the beautiful thing. It's like, well, and I've said this before, well, the collective is going down a not great trajectory, but I'm aware of the fact that I can pull myself out of that. I am a sovereign individual unit of consciousness, and I am able to pull myself out of that. But anyway, so the radio tuner, we can choose what station we tune to. And if we're tuned to a certain frequency, and it's not great, it's not something we would like to be experiencing, then we can change that. Well, how do we do that? It's about vibration, because that's all a frequency is a vibration. A frequency is how many times it oscillates in a minute, or a second, But that's what a frequency is. There's a vibration, and then there's the frequency of the vibration. It's how big the waves are, how long it takes to, and that's why, like they say, the creator oscillates at such a rapid rate that it's constantly at rest, because as we've learned that as a wave goes up and down, a frequency wave, as it goes up and down, when it gets here, it kind of crests and it stops for a second. Just like the pendulum swing. When a pendulum swings this way, when it gets here, it kind of stops for a brief second. And then it goes over here and it stops again for a brief second. And those are the points where it's at rest. So same thing with this. When it's at this up here, it is at rest, and it comes back down, and then again, and then again it's is at rest again, and then back up at rest. But the creator oscillates at such a rapid rate that it appears to always be at rest. So, and it's like, well, what's that got to do with me? Not a whole lot. I mean, well, it does when we're getting into that, but for the sake of what I'm talking about, not a whole lot yet. But we are going to get into that, because that is a very deep meditative state that we attempt to reach. And even if we never reach it, it's very enlightening. It really brings you to some major awareness, some major insights. Let's just leave it at that for now, because that's a whole other thing. I mean, it really is. We got to warm up. We got to bring ourselves up to that. But we're building up to that. I promise. There's method to all of this. There really is. So anyway, loved one, if you're not, we're able to focus on and change our vibration and decide these are the things that I'm going to tune to. And the best time to do that is right before you go to sleep. Because as I've said, I believe that when the body sleeps, it has to shut down, it has to rest, it has to restock chemicals, and it has to do all of those things. But your true self, your true essence, does not have to rest. That's when you detach from this avatar body, and that's why you have are in a dream state, or it appears to be a dream state. This is actually the dream state, but whatever. That's a whole other thing too. And that's why some people will say that when my body's sleeping, I'm traveling, I'm doing things, I'm in other places. Right? And some people say, well, that's just your brain firing dreams at you. And that's the scientific explanation. It is. But that's not the spiritual explanation. When your higher self detaches from your body while it's resting, that is when, well, that's a whole other thing. But when it comes back in, let's say in the morning, when you do wake, and it reboots, the whole system reboots. That's why I say it's very important to focus on the reality that we want as we're going to sleep, because that's when changes are going to be can be made. Is when you are into this physical avatar. Things that can happen as when it's powered down and you're disconnected. That's when they can go in, your higher self, whatever you want to say, can go in and do the tinkering and fix things. Change the perspective. So anyway, loved ones, that's what I got. If you would, please give me a like on this video. I would so appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And also find me on X. It's Matt Stevens, MSA, or just Matt Stevens. I'm on X, and everything I do, I post on there. Any videos, any audio podcasts, any blog posts, anything like that. Plus, I mean, we can just kind of interact better on there. It's the thing about X is it's kind of an on the fly, instantaneous thing rather than something that's scheduled or whatever. It's very cool on there only because it is in the moment. So there we go. Anyway, loved ones, I do love you. I do, and I'll be back directly.